で16年前にここのね後をやりなさいということでここに就任しました。しかし自分がやったのがねその柔道のねほんの一部、これはもう試合のね中で戦う場の柔道しかしなかいことに気づいた。加納師範がね作られた柔道ってそんな狭いもんじゃなかったね。世界の人たちにいっぱい柔道を教えて自分のね人間形成の場として柔道を使いなさい。そしてそこには人がたくさん集まったらそれによって会えない人たちでもここで会うことによってそれから付き合いが始まってそれが世界平和につながっていくと思う。なんか試合をね試合を中心にやる時期にそれをやってもいいと思う。そういう柔道っていうのはね例えば型をやったり本当受け身だけやったりあるいは健康のためにやったり試合だけのためにやったりって、しかし行き着くとこはみんな一緒だ。試合をやった人たちも最終的には自分が修行して、人間のこれを高めていって自分の人格形成をやる。そしてそのやった時知り合った人たちといっぱい友達を作ってやっぱりそれは世界が広がっていくし、そしてねやっぱ正々堂々と戦うっていうのが柔道の根本的原理である。そしてこれね全日本選手権というのは無差別の試合です。60キロの人と150キロの人が戦うこともある。だから当然足をかけてきたそれも持っていい。何でもでもね自分の最大限に危険な技と卑怯なことをしなかったら私はやっていいもんだと思ってる。だから国際柔道連盟でねレッグを攻撃しちゃいけない取っちゃいけないっていうのはもともとみんな組まなくなってきた。柔道着っていうのは何のためにやる。レスリングはこれを着ないから相手を捕まえるが、でも柔道着はこの柔道着をいかに上手に使うか、これ使って技をかけるかというところにあるのにみんな組まないで足ばっかし取り始めたからね。柔道は柔道である。畳の上でそして礼を守ってそして相手ちゃんと危険なことをしない、怪我させるような技をかけない。それで相手が小学生だったら大人が一緒にやってもそれに合わせて一緒に組めるようなこれが柔道です。だからいろんなねマーシャルアーツができてもいいと。ただ柔道は柔道、あくまでも柔道は柔道着を着てやっぱり礼法を守ってそしてやっぱね技で自分の一番いいところを使った技でやっぱお互いに修行する場である。だから礼法は服従ではないよ。相手リスペクトしてるからなんともされるんで、一つはきちんとした礼法を学ばせたいっていうのがあって、もう一つは強くなってオリンピックチャンピオンになりたいという目標もある。しかしそれとね一番親御さんが期待されてるのは友達がたくさんできて一緒に協力していろんなことをやる場所である。一人じゃ柔道できません。相手がいないとね。でも卑怯なことやって危険なことやってたらみんな友達もいなくなるだろうし、だからこそみんなここでそういう成長していってくれるんだ。
Hi, this is Shadi. Recently, Julien, my friend, had an interview with the Kodokan president, Haruki Uemura, Olympic champion. So, as you just read, this is something that I was very intrigued and curious about for years. I always had these questions in mind. What do they think about the current martial arts landscape? Of course, current judo rules, all of it. And he addressed them very succinctly, but at the same time, straight to the point. And now, with my maturity and the long I have been in judo, I'm not surprised. So this interview is found on Julien's channel. I had the pleasure of seeing it uncut. The questions by Julien are not present in the video. I'll link the full interview below. I helped with the subtitling, so I had to see it. I saw it before it came out, and I'm very happy to help with it. And I asked permission, of course, to discuss some of the things. So the first point that I want to talk about is after his competitive career, he realized that judo is a lot more than winning. And you see this all the time with competitors, even coaches. Winning, hard work, and that's all they talk about. That's all they post about. And if you don't subscribe to this mental fortitude that they have or mental attitude that they have, then you're not doing whatever it takes. You're a hobbyist. And of course, that's not it. I started late. I'm sure many of you started late. Um, I'm sure many of you retired from competing and realized, hey, it's very academic, it's very philosophical. There's a lot that I can implement in my life. As he said, there is ukemi training. That's how important it is. He put it in its own category. He talked about kata. I know a lot of people barely do randori anymore and compete a lot in kata. Now they're in their mid 30s after injuries. There's self-defense. I don't know what he's talking about. If there's any such a thing in Japan, that's something to be discovered later on, maybe my second visit. And of course, he just says some just train for good health. I saw people in Kodokan, people who can be my grandfather, and they just move around in randori. You do the little tap on the leg, they do good ukemi, they get up, they do a little osoto otoshi on you, you take the fall, they do uchikomi, you help them. They're in good shape for their age. They probably have great grandchildren. I remember one guy was there, he was in his 90s. So hey, everyone has something, but this idea of just win or just be the best, no. You want to talk about basketball or baseball, sure, it can apply, but judo is the path. It has a do in it, so that's very important to keep in mind. I'm not saying that's your only approach, but as he says, we all have one common goal, which is create a better society and make better friends, and ultimately it would result, it sounds a little bit utopian, world peace, but I do think that a body like judo, the IJF, Kodokan, All Japan, when it comes to world events, the one that we are going through right now, I think it's very important to have a firm stance and say that we can all get together, and I'm sure it can be resolved. Diplomacy exists for a reason. Now a lot of people argue for whatever is happening now as if diplomacy, like, it doesn't even exist, and it's very disappointing, and it's very heart-wrenching and gut-wrenching what is going on right now. And it's very important to have a firm stance to say, hey, there's always a better way. What is going on now can be prevented, and we also need to dig into who's really profiting, companies, whatever. Of course, that's a whole big rabbit hole that I'm not educated enough to go into, but manufacturers and stuff, someone is making a good living out of someone else's misery. Historically, this has happened all the time. But when it comes to being together, being all equal, being all brothers and sisters in this world, and whatever it is, I think they should have a firm stance that, hey, we do not condone this, because by default Jita Kyoe is that we all benefit, we all work for mutual benefit and prosperity. So moving on, regarding the other martial arts, I believe he said something that is very important, because actually if you watch the uncut footage, which Julien only put the answers, Julien actually asks him, what's your opinion with the relationship of judo and other martial arts, like MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, and all these things? And he said judo is judo, and he started talking about bowing, having good attitude, making sure the others are not injured, respect, and then of course the gripping and nagewaza and all these things. So if you're not an experienced martial artist, you haven't been in the judo, jiu-jitsu realm for a long time, you would be kind of perplexed if you hear it. But I'm sure you know what he's talking about. It's of course the culture, the respect. You can use whatever technique you want, but if you carry it with attitude, like you see in press conferences sometimes in MMA or super fights in jiu-jitsu, how Masvidal behaved after Ben Askren was knocked out, all these things, that's not judo or in the spirit of judo. You can see judo techniques in it, sure, but that's not judo. And this is what he means. You can have, you can take technique and use it, but you're not doing judo in that particular context. And I think that's also very important, especially if you're a judoka and then later on you went on into things like MMA, grappling with the no-gi, of course, jiu-jitsu and IBJJF, whatever. It's always important to carry that attitude with you. I know, for example, IBJJF heavily punishes disrespect and these poor attitude, and that's something I really admire. But everything else, they thrive on the trash talking. They sell tickets. They use it to get more clicks. The slap with Galvon and Gordon Ryan. I forgot the platform where it says, "Oh, if you want to watch the full thing, subscribe to us," which is crazy to think about from a judo perspective. So when he talked about this, I knew, or at least that's what I thought about in the very beginning. But when he talks about making friends, making sure the other is safe, training, that's what Kano Shihan, of course, wanted. The character development, making sure we're all good, safety, etc. Not just on the mat, but in order to create a better society, you'd want the prosperity of others as well. And this leads me to my previous point that, with everything that's been going on, I would say for decades and decades, not just the current world affairs and the wars and the, atrocities that you're seeing every day, we should get to see, and we should be firmly against this. I did a video recently about Kano. I wrote a little script how he was anti-militarism and such, and of course there was a little hint on current world affairs because it's of course it's tiring for all of us. But I oppose this as a man of faith and as someone who is a judoka, and Jitakyoe by default calls for the mutual welfare, and of course there's always a better way to conduct things and find a better solution. That's what I believe, and I hope you enjoyed this. Again, the full interview is below on Julien's channel. Subscribe, help him get to 10,000 subscribers. This was Shadi, and thank you for listening.